Hello, and how are you? My name is Muhindo Mubarak, and I welcome you to the to the 13th video of learning how to create web applications using PHP. In previous video, we got introduced to forms and how we can handle forms. It is in using get method, and we did some practicals, and I hope you watched the previous video. If you did, then that's great. If you did not, then I recommend you to go and watch it again. So in this video, we're going to proceed from where I stopped at in the previous video, and we're going to look at the post method. What is meant by post method, when we need it, how to use it. Then we'll also go ahead and compare what's the difference between post method and get method, and when do we need to use these two in different scenarios, if time allows. So we have a lot of things to cover, and I hope you're ready and prepared to cover everything with me. If you are, then let's get started. So, what is a post method? I may not know the exact definition of post method, but I'll give it the way according I understand it. But if you want to understand really the exact definition, go ahead and search what is meant by post method on Google. They'll give you the exact answer. But in simple terms, a post method is another type of a form that we submit in background. Okay, if you followed the previous video, you saw that when we submitted the form of get, the data was being passed through the URL. Okay, the data was being passed through the URL, and I don't think that's a good practice. In some cases, for example, assume that you're dealing with passwords and the rest. So it wouldn't be a good practice to pass the data in what? In the URL. So that is why they came up with what? With the post method. Post method, the data will be passed in the background or in the headers of what? Of the request that you're submitting to the what? To the server. So that is the difference between the post and get. But putting that aside, post and get is almost exactly the same, but when we finish this video, we'll go ahead and discuss what's really different. For example, can a get method submit a file? Can get method submit a file, for example? Okay, so can a get method submit any size of data? We'll go ahead and look at that. So, and we see, can post submit a file? So what's the difference exactly between these two? That will be done by the end of this video or when you're finishing. So we have a lot to cover. Let's get started with. Let's jump straight into what? Into practicals. So I'll switch to my text editor, and in here I'm going to create another file. I'm going to create another file. I'll just come here and say new file, and I'm going to call it, I'll just come and say here new file, and I'll call it 18, and then php underscore form underscore post. Okay, there we are. So there we are. Okay, so this is a super fresh new file. Okay, so you can just even write here something like that post, and then go and check it. Okay, so I assume I've already started your XAMPP. I hope you know what is meant by XAMPP. Me, I've started my MAMP. Okay, so if you're using Windows, you have XAMPP, and you should have started. You should have started it. So I'll come here and remove this file name and keep it localhost stroke learn php stroke 18 underscore php underscore form post. So there, it means that we are now on our post page, and we're good to go. So now let's go ahead and now start seeing how we can make this, or we can make use of this post. By the way, I can collapse this file listing from here by toggling from here. So if I click there, it will be collapsed, which is okay, so that I should have enough working space. So I'm going to open what? I'm going to open our HTML5 structure, and then I'm going to put here the title as form post. Okay, then from here I'm going to go ahead and create now our form like this. Okay, form. Then I'm going to specify the action URL, which is nothing for now. It's going to submit in the same post or the same form. By the way, by the end of this class, I'll show you how you can submit also in different file. So after doing that, I'm going to go and my English though. I don't know English. Okay, I'm going to create a what? I'm going to create a form, a first field. What are we going to collect in this form anyway? We are going to collect the username and password. So let's go ahead and collect the username and password. So I'm going to put an input and call this one. Remember, you have to give it the name. If you don't give it the name, then it will be ignored. So I'm going to call this a username. Okay. And then give a placeholder. I'm going to call it username so that what the people will see on their interfaces. Username. And then I'll put here some BR tags to break the lines. And then I'm going to provide another one called password. Okay. So if you want to hide this password, you can put type as password. Then it will be changed to dots. And then what the user will see here, it will be password. Great. So we are now able to collect the username and password. So let's go ahead and now put the button for submission. Okay, you can call it login or anything. By the way, there's another way of how you can create a submit button. You can create a submit button like this. You can simply write an input like this and then call it submit. Okay, and give it a value. Okay, and this value you can call it maybe login. So value is what will appear on the user's interface, and then the type, it will know that this is an input of type submit. So those are two ways now. The first way, we did it in this way by just simply writing our button like this and then specify as submit, and then we just specify here the type as what? As submit button like this. So these are two alternatives of how you can write your what? Your submit button. Okay, so let's go ahead and see how they look like. Okay, so I'll save and then I'll come to server, to a browser, refresh. You see, these two guys look exactly the same. You cannot differentiate them, and they really do the same the same piece of task. Okay, so I'll comment this guy like that. So to comment, you press Ctrl Shift and the letter A. Press Ctrl, hold it, and letter A. That is how it is done on. Is it Alt? On Windows, maybe you try Alt, then the Shift, and then the A. But on Mac, it is Option, Shift, and A. Okay, so that's it. So I've commented that. So it means that now we have created our simple form that a person can use to provide their username and password. Okay, so their username and password. So now let us go ahead. Right now, if we leave it like this, it's going to remain a get form, a plain get form. A plain get form. So but right now we want to change it to what? To a post form. So to change it to post form, what you're going to do, you just simply come here to form and give it a method. Okay, method like this. Okay, method, and then here in this method you specify the form type. You can write post. So it means that the method of this form is going to be post this time. It's not going to be get. And then after specifying the method, you can that's it. Let's go ahead and refresh now. Refresh. Now you can see the method is post. So this time you're going also to learn how we can submit to a different to a different file. Okay, so to submit to a different file, let us create that file first. Okay, so you're going to create that file here, and then you're going to create it like this. I'm going to call it 18.1 so that it should be different, 18.1, and the naming will remain the same because the task is the same. Okay, so 18.1 underscore PHP underscore form underscore post, like this. Now, this is the file that will be handling the form submission. This is the file that will be handling the PHP code. Okay, so we now have two different files. This one, the one that will handle whatever the user has submitted. This one, the one that will handle the display of the form on the screen. Now, after doing that, the next thing is we are going to see now how we have specified the post. So now the next thing is if you don't specify where this form should be submitted, it means that this form will be submitted on the same page. So what do? We specify where the form will be submitted by giving another attribute called action. Okay. So this action attribute, it is where you can specify the URL or the method, the post where, the section or the file to where this form should be submitted. So since they're in the same folder, I'm just going to put the second file that we just created, 18 underscore, then the same 18.1, okay, and then the same name, the same file name, okay. So it means that I'm referring to this particular file. Okay, so it means that when this user will submit, this form will be redirected to this particular file that we've specified here. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'll give here refresh, give my password, my username, mobile and password 4321. Okay, so let's go and submit. Click on login. So one thing that you should realize that when you click on submit, the file changed to this one. Okay, it changed to the new file that we specified that the form should be submitted. So it means that if you don't submit the form will be submitted to the same link. If you don't specify the form where it should be submitted, it will be submitted to the same link. If you specify where the form should be submitted, it will be submitted to that particular file that you have specified to. So let's go ahead and refresh here. So now, right now, when you try to refresh, they'll ask you to confirm to submit the same data. Unlike get, we were not being asked to confirm. Okay, so for the posts, we're asked to confirm. So the next thing that you should observe that here in our post, the data that has been submitted has not been placed or has not been added to the link that is receiving this file. But previously in the post, in the get, all the data that we were sending or that we were submitting, it was being submitted to the what? It was being added to the what? To the post. To the file that we're submitting to. So that's the difference. So if in case you're dealing with secret files, secret information such as passwords, don't use get. Why? Because get exposes data into URL. But if you're going to handle things like password, personal information, then endeavor to use the post. Why? Because with post, the data will be hidden. It will be submitted through headers. So that's great then. Now let us see now how we can receive this data in the post. So likewise to the post, if you want to receive the data, you'll have to use the super global variable of what? Of the post. So if I come here and echo a pre-tag like this and come and say print underscore r and then pass the super global variable of post, which can be written as, or which can be accessed as a $ underscore and then capital letter the word post like this. Okay, so by doing like that, we'll be able to get anything that has been submitted to this file in form of a what? In form of a post. So should we come and refresh, you'll see that we have got the username and the password. So it means that now if you have this username and password, then it means that you can now manipulate this data and use it to do anything that you want. So let's go ahead and see how we can do that. Okay, so but the difference is this data was not added into what? To our URL. So that's the whole main difference between get and post. So I can now come and access this data. For example, username equals what has been sent here in post. Here, username. Okay, and then password equals, and then here what has been sent in password here. Okay, so we have the username, we have the password. So we have accessed both of them. So I can as well now display these pieces of data by simply saying echo your username is, but never do that. Never display people's username. I'm just using this one for practice. Your username is this, and your password is $sign password. Boom. So like this, we'll be able to manipulate whatever data that the user has done what? The user has sent to us. So let's go ahead and refresh. Boom. Can you see? Your username is Mobahood and password is 4321. And this data has been got through what? Through the post. And another thing that should observe, we cannot modify this data along the way. Remember, with the post, since we could access the URL, we were able to modify the data with the get, sorry. But with post, you cannot modify unless the data has been submitted originally as it is. So that is how we create the post, and that's how we receive the what? The post. Let's do it one more time. Let us just go through it one more time. So for the post, you specify the post. Then you specify the action. Though you can leave this action and then submit to the same file like the way you did in get. It is also okay. Okay? Then you create your inputs by, and remember to specify the name attribute in your what? In your input. Otherwise, if you don't specify the name attribute in your input, it means that that input will be ignored. And then you specify the password, okay? Sorry, the other input with its valid name. And then you remember to put the what? The submit button. Then if you want to receive this form on a different file, you specify the file inside the form tag in the attribute of action. And you can see I have two files, one that is submitting the form, the other one that is receiving the form. So this is the file for receiving the form, and you can collect the data that has been submitted through through post, like this, by writing $_ the post sign, then the username. The name of the name that you want to collect. Also the password, the post, and then the password. Then we can go ahead and display this by just doing it in that way. Okay? So that is how we collect the username and password from users. So it is very important, really. It is very, very important to do what? To know that a post cannot be modified. So with that simple introduction, that's all. In fact, that's all you need to know to get introduced to posts and get. So I now know you know the post method. In fact, don't just watch the video. Please get your hands dirty and start writing these pieces of code. Don't just watch like you're watching a movie. You have to watch as you practice. Otherwise, if you just watch like a movie, then it will not be helpful. So let's go ahead and Google some difference between get and post. Okay? So there's some articles, of course, that can be talking about this clearly, but W3 schools, of course, they're talking about it. So let's go to W3 schools. So you have looked at post, get, now let's see. Now, what's the difference? So that the main methods have post and get. These put head and the rest, you can look at them later. So these are the difference. What the hell? Okay, so the guest request can be cached. Okay, requests remain in the browser history. Requests can be bookmarked. In fact, even in the get, the history will remain in the browser. You can bookmark the get. Requests can be never dealing with sensitive data. So don't deal with sensitive data inside the get. Okay, requests have length restriction. So with get, you have a length restriction. You cannot submit any too much data, there is a length restriction there. Okay, so also in get, requests only used to modify, only used to request data just as it is. Okay, so don't use a request to anything that you think it is going to modify your database. Okay, so requests, just use it maybe when you're searching, when you're doing anything like that is not going to go straight to your database, because requests through get can be dangerous. Why? Because they are accessible. Someone can modify them. So that's how we use get. So get, you will use it for things like your search or your filtering, something like that. Then you can use get. But if you're going to post something, you're going to add something on your website or in your web application, then never use get method. Okay, this is a little bit length. I thought it was a summary. I'll close it. Okay, so that's a brief definition of posts of get. Then here is something for posts. Requests are never cached, so every time you submit a request and post, it is taken afresh. Post requests do not remain in the browser. Okay, you cannot bookmark a post method. For example, this one, you cannot bookmark it with its data. If you bookmark it, you'll have bookmark only the end file, but you cannot bookmark it with data. That is self-explanatory. Requests cannot be bookmarked. Requests have no restriction to data length. So with posts, we have no restriction with data length, meaning that we can even do what? We can even post even a file. So that is all about posts. So you can come and learn more about post versus get on what? On W3 School, so you can get a really clear picture about posts and get. So with that much said, I will call this the end of the video, and then we'll meet in the next video where we're going to learn about file uploading, how you can upload file to the server. I hope you'll not miss, and thank you for watching up this point. If you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please go ahead and subscribe and stay in touch by activating that bell, so that when I upload the next video, you're among the first people to know that I've uploaded something cool. Okay, see you in the next class. Bye-bye. We're going to learn about file uploading. It is so interesting how you can upload a picture to the server. So don't miss, and goodbye.